Hello again, my friends. Thank you for tuning in to the Gun Show. For those of you who have never visited before, we really appreciate you joining us. And if you came to tune in and talk about muscles because of guns, I don't have any of those. I think my guest today might. If we're here to talk about guns, it might pop up from time to time, but that's not the real story of the show. So sorry about that confusion with the Gun Show. The Gun Show is actually my last name. Tony Gunn with two N's, quite Scottish, actually, from Viking descent. I've never actually said that on this podcast before. So there's some new information for you guys. What we do on this show is we bring the humans, the robots, the industry, we bring it to life. We want you to know who you're working with, the people, the passion, where they come from and why they're here. Was it on purpose? Some people went to school and love what we do, and some of us got here on accident, but most of us still love what we do. So we love bringing out that authenticity in people. When we look around, we see everything around us minus just a couple of things, right? Humans or trees or the air that's around us. But most things are made in engineering and manufacturing. The world is created through the creative minds of the people that we get to bring on this show. And for those of you who have been here before, thank you again for joining us. And today I have the very special pleasure and privilege to talk with my buddy, Jim Stolo. This is the Gun Show. Jim is the regional sales manager for Starrag, and we're going to learn a bit more about him, how he got into the industry, his history, and a little bit more about Starrag as a company, which to me is a truly fascinating company based on the size of their machines and just how massive they can be in the industries they work in. So I'm going to learn more with you guys today. I'm going to learn from Jim, and I hope you're as excited as I am to be a part of this. So Jim, thank you so much for being a part of the Gun Show. It's so exciting to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Tony.
Oh, it's a pleasure, brother. You know, a lot of the folks that come onto this show, you know, they're excited to be here, but it's oftentimes their first podcast. So I like everyone to feel comfortable and confident and have a good time. And the audience loves to know that, wow, we're really getting to know these people. And there's a lot of gratitude that goes, you know, thank you to the engineers. Thank you to the sales guys. We don't always want to talk about ourselves or our story or our machines. We kind of want to put our head down, get to work and do the technology side of things. So there's a whole bunch of gratitude that goes into this operation of a podcast in general. So thank you for being a part of that, being brave enough. And with that being said, my friend, let's talk a little bit about your journey growing up. Did you always know that you wanted to be an engineer? And if so, did you always want to be in sales?
Actually, no to both. I actually wanted to be a machinist. I wanted to be a machinist, tool and die maker, which is actually how I started out. Right out of high school, I started on an apprenticeship program, and actually during high school, I took vocational classes for machining, drafting, anything related to, you know, making parts. I was fascinated with that side of things, and I came from a very working class family. My father worked for a copper mill locally in town for 35 years. He was a caster. And my mother was a nurse. And, you know, my dad told me early on, if you become a machinist, you'll always have a job, because everything in the world, you know, comes from a machine at some point, or is manufactured, you know, by a machinist at some point. And so I kind of took that and ran with it. And I took, like I said, a lot of vocational classes when I was in high school. And then I went on a 4-year apprenticeship program with a local machine tool builder. And, but no, I really enjoyed working with my hands. But as I got more involved with the side of, you know, being a machinist and getting into jig and fixture design and things like that, I quickly found out that I also really enjoyed the, you know, manufacturing engineering side of things, the programming, the, you know, designing in AutoCAD or SolidWorks or what have you. And so, and it just kind of evolved from there.
Well, Jim, I love that you brought that up, my friend. And let me tell you why. There is a an audience right now that we're trying to grab as an industry, as a whole industry, and that's the youth, right? And you mentioned two very important things that I think will resonate as this echo continues to get spread into the skills gap to create this awareness for our next generation. The first thing was your dad told you would always have a job in manufacturing because something is always being built. And the second thing was, no, I didn't know I was going to be in sales. You said you started off with no to both, actually, because you wanted to work with your hands and you were working on that vocational thing. Something that we brought up in one of the school systems recently was, hey, guess what, guys? If you get into this world, it doesn't mean that you're going to only be working as, say, an accountant or as a lawyer. You have so many different platforms of success, and you can jump around from sales to warehousing to technical support to working on a machine that needs support there. So all of these little great attributes of our industry you've already accidentally emphasized, Jim, and I love it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it really is, when you work your way up through an industry like ours, you're presented with so many different opportunities, but you're also able to see it from a lot of different sides. And I like I said, gravitate or evolve into what fits you best. And I don't want to say sales is what fits me best, but that's where I ended up. And I think a lot of it is because I like interacting with customers. I like being able to bring a solution to a customer that is unique, that is going to help them, and it's also going to help the industry. It's one of those things that you don't really, that's not your intention. Your intention is to ultimately sell something, but I think whatever we can do to move the industry forward is good for everyone.
Oh, Jim, you're spot on, my friend. And let me tell you from my perspective why, and I'm sure the audience will agree as well. But when we think of sales historically, a lot of us in our minds instantly go to like a used car salesman. Like, how are they trying to trick me? Well, they try to, don't call me. If we're technical like yourself, if we come from a machinist background, I mean, I know you've been application engineers and product managers and VP of product sales and all of this transition. I find real value in the ability for someone who has a very technical background to convey that message verbally, someone like yourself, because now, in my opinion, psychologically, the person we're conveying that message to, the person we're quote unquote, and nobody can see me because we're audio, but quote, I'm putting my fingers in the air,
Right.
guys and gals, quote unquote, selling to, we're actually educating them on a very technical platform, which allows them to remove that wall that we all build for sales guys, right? And we go, wow, okay, we're learning. So a person in your shoes, Jim, in my opinion, you're the type of person we want to work with to learn. And segueing into your technical background, let's talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so like I had mentioned, I started out on an apprenticeship program. I became a journeyman machinist. I did that for a while, and then moved into manufacturing engineering, where I, again, writing CNC programs, designing fixtures, tooling, things like that, developing processes for a local machine tool company that they didn't build machine tools in the sense like we're talking about as far as Starrag or what you're thinking about, vertical mills, but they built machine tools for the tire and wire industry. So it was all automated process machinery, manufacturing tire bead winding machines to sidewall bead handling systems. And then they also had another side of the company, which started earlier on in wire manufacturing. So, copper wire for home and commercial use, all of that type of manufacturing equipment. And the area that I live in, Rome, New York, is known for the copper wire industry. It's actually referred to as the Copper City. And the factory that my father worked at, as I mentioned, for 30 plus years, is Revere Copper and Brass. It's one of the oldest factories in the United States, and it's a copper mill. So,
Wow.
but yeah, I moved, I did that for a while, and then found myself really intrigued by machine tools, and the dynamics of the machine tool industry really I sometimes have a little bit of an issue with focus. When I get comfortable with things, that's when I start to get a little stir crazy. So the dynamics of the machine tool industry really drew me into that. And that's when I went into being an application engineer, and then later on a product manager, and into product sales, for one of the largest and well-known machine tool companies in the world. And I really was given a lot of great opportunities, and I was able to really develop my, my skills and my passion for high technology machine tools from that. And then opportunity presented itself to work for Starrag, and I've been with the company now for 9 months, and it's really been a great fit for me. I can't say enough. It's all of the things that I loved about the industry. It's a small focused technology company. It's looking at the total solution. Again, we're not just slinging iron or trying to sell a piece of equipment. We're trying to sell a total solution to the customer, which again, going back to that was the whole, basis for what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to bring the technology and the solutions to the customer so that, we can do great things. So it's been a great fit for me so far, and it's a good company. I can't say enough about it.
When was the last time you thought about work holding? How long did it take you to change over the clamping devices on your CNC machines? Days? Maybe hours? Don't let work holding be an afterthought. With the Heimbuch system, changeovers can be done in seconds without readjustment of the runout. No longer do you have to turn down jobs because you don't have the right work holding. When flexibility is critical, add a mandrel, 2 or 3 jaw adaptation onto your collet chuck. Use it on your turning and milling machines. With such a low maintenance system, you will see less machine downtime and your profits will soar. To learn more about the Heimbuch system, visit www.heimbuchamerica.com or call 414-358-9550. Starrag, as you mentioned, they try to find a full solution for a customer, as you said, not just slinging iron. You also mentioned, high technology, and Starrag is definitely in the category of high technology. I've also stumbled across some videos where I've seen some of the biggest machine cells maybe on the planet that come out of Starrag. Can we talk a little bit more about the history of Starrag, who you guys support, and the overall success that can be generated from Starrag?
Sure. So Starrag is, in itself a brand or company manufacturing machine tools in Switzerland, but it's also a group of machine tool manufacturers that more or less came together that happens quite often in our industry over time. And it's dating back to the earliest factory SIP in 1862. They're known for being the world's most accurate machines. Actually, a little known fact is that the unit of measure of 1 meter for the ISO standard was developed on a SIP machine in 1889. And again, being known for the most accurate, highest quality machines in the world, we often joke internally that Starrag and our factories are like the best kept secret in the machining industry, because we've been around for so long, yet we're not as widely known as, let's say, some other brands. But I think it's also due to the fact that, as you mentioned, our customer base and the size of the equipment that we deal in is not going to be your everyday 3-axis vertical, 2-axis lathe type piece of equipment that you're going to see in an everyday job shop. Not that job shops aren't our customers as well, but the types of customers that we work with, for the most part, are customers that we really can't talk about. So government and defense contractors, you know, a lot in the defense industry, as well as, you know, especially with space exploration right now, everybody's talking about rockets. That's where we play. That's where we, you know, thrive and do very well as a company. And again, not to say that, you know, your everyday job shop isn't a customer for us as well. But again, with the size of some of our equipment and the technology of some of our equipment, it lends itself to the larger companies. So yeah, I mean, we have machines going up to you know, turning diameters on some of our VTLs that are approaching 15 meters in diameter. We have you know, large high rail gantry machines that, you know, that really the sky's the limit as far as how big do you want to go. You know, we're open to anything. And I think that that's one of the key points as well. And what I really enjoy about StarAg is that we are, you know, we are a machine tool builder, but because we're a solution provider, because we, you know, are engineering what the customer values, and being a smaller company, we have the flexibility to pivot very quickly and be able to offer a solution, you know, especially again, if let's say the largest, you know, machine that we built was, you know, 15 meters, and the customer comes to us and says, you know, we have this really unique application and we need a machine that's 2 meters larger than that. We have the ability to very, you know, be very flexible and work with those customers. So that's one of the things that I think really puts StarAg at the forefront of, you know, the highest technology, is that we are able to do those things very quickly.
You know, I'm listening to you, Jim, and my mind is a little bit blown, I have to say, just based on the size capability of what you're able to create, and in some cases, limitless, right? But then you flip it on me in my mind, and you go, but we can also adapt to exactly what you want to do, because we have the ability to do that, right? Like, wait a second, you mean some of the largest machines on the planet can be adapted quickly to exactly what I need to do, you know, on a almost say a moment's notice? That's impressive. And I think that adds complete value to everything you're saying about StarAg and its capability to support. And to be fair, how many other products and companies out there do we not know massively about, because we work in industries that are somewhat secretive, right? That everyone's holding their cards close to their chest. And you guys have been around since the 1800s. And what a cool fact that was about SIP and the gauge for measurement. And yet you're working in industries that are going into space, right? That are making these things that we see on the TV as a finished product, but we all go, well, how did they get there? And we get to talk to people like you, Jim, and we go, oh, that's how they got there. Well, now that makes sense. Very, very cool. So I have a few other questions. I'd love to learn more about StarAg, and in this certain circumstance, what the defense experience has been like with StarAg.
So regarding defense, we have, I believe, more than 60 machines globally working on like the F-35 program. We are one of the leading companies with regard to landing gears, on, you know, as well as shipbuilding. You know, again, it's hard to I'm trying to be as descriptive as I can, but also keeping in the back of my mind about, you know, what you can and can't say, because again, things are very secretive. But, you know, with regard to defense, we have a very long history with defense contractors, as well as the working directly with the government itself. We work directly with a lot of bases and government direct run manufacturers for defense, for weapon systems, for flight, and for Navy. And again, we've been doing this for a very long time in that way. But it's you know, our expertise in defense and our ability to work with those companies is going back, you know, several decades. And it's something that we do as our primary business, I would say.
This kind of just feeds into the best kept secret discussion, doesn't it? Because
Yeah,
we want to talk about it, but we know we just can't, but it exists and it's powerful and we play that game. So let's move into something we can talk a little bit more about, I believe. And to my knowledge, you guys at Starag are involved in every major engine program, right? How's that work?
that is correct. So again, whether it's defense or commercial related, we have machines installed with every major engine program. So when we're talking about like the LEAP engine, for instance, for heavy lift or commercial aircraft, we have several machines installed at several different manufacturers that make parts for those engines, whether it's casings, rings. We're very much experts on the blade and blisk side of engines, whether it's for power generation, whether it's for industry and energy sector, or it is for actual flight engines. So when it comes to blade and blisk, multi-blade type machines or single blade manufacturing, we have technology that is focused on making those parts specifically. We have solutions that are made, focused on making those parts specifically, right down to the software for programming, the software for simulation, tooling development, the full circle of the manufacturing process, including the machine tool, is what we really bring to the table. And in most cases, Starag is never the least expensive company. In almost every case, we're the most expensive when you look at it on the surface. But when you look at it as the lowest cost per piece, and that's really our focus, is to bring the lowest cost per piece or per part to the customer. And that is where you have to have the total solution. It's not just the machine tool. It's not just the tooling. It's not just the software or verification and simulation software. It's the whole package combined, and the decades of industry experience with that technology that I think really brings that lowest total cost. And that's our focus, is, again, we have to be the lowest total cost supplier for the complete package. And that's what we try to do in every case. And it's not always the case, but that's our focus.
GTI Spindle Technology is North America's largest and most experienced independent spindle repair providers. They achieve or exceed OEM quality and testing standards while still delivering exceptional one-on-one personalized customer service and support. Since inception in 1997, they strive to provide excellence in root cause of failure analysis and reporting and cost reduction programs, with partnering with the clients to implement best-in-class predictive maintenance and vibration analysis programs for their spindles and machine tools. With multiple U.S. service centers, they are poised to support manufacturing locations throughout North America. In the event that you have new spindle applications or replacement spindle needs, they offer a full line of new Purion speed spindles to suit any component manufacturing needs that you may have. Please visit www.gtispindle.com to learn more, or call anytime at 888-473-9675 to discuss how they can assist you. It's a good focus, Jim. It really is. And I think that I'd like to believe that more companies are grasping that concept and we're headed that direction, because ultimately that's everyone's goal, in my opinion, right? Is to get that price per piece cost down to as low as we want to go. And sometimes that big number does scare people, if it's $1 million or 10 million or 20 million or whatever it might be versus a $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 machine, the number at the top goes, ooh, I don't know. But when we really break it down, and we've done this math a lot, when we really break it down to cost per part and return on investment and how quickly that gets done and everything that goes along with those mathematical algorithms, the investment in the long term is the investment in ourselves, the investment in the growth of our company, the investment in the capability of precision products and complete solutions, and not having to worry about something, breaking down or this. We all want to have great service, of course. Service is going to sell all the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 10th machines, right? That's how it works.
Right.
But we also need to really pay attention to how the industry constantly adapts and adjusts, where we used to throw a spindle at a project, one spindle, one project, one spindle. Then we threw people at a spindle. Okay, one person, one machine, one person, one machine. We've now started to realize that we need to create this environment that allows us to thrive, where one person can do several things. And then we pay that person adequately, of course, but that one person can run more than one machine, or that one person can run one of the massive machines that's able to produce a lot of products. I really believe in your message, Jim, and I really believe in that, low cost part per piece. That should be where we find that value. And it's going to be hard to overlook that large number at first, but if we can do that, and if we pay attention, ultimately, with the companies I've interviewed around the world with their expensive machinery, when we look at a company with the great history and capabilities of a company like Starrag, I see the people at the end of the day, their eyes light up with pride when they feel like they've made the correct decisions, making these moves, and the successes they've created for generations and for decades. So that was a bit long-winded, and sometimes I'll do that, but I want to talk more about some of the unique benefits of the machines itself. We've talked about you, we've talked about your history, we've talked about the overall bird's eye view of how Starrag can support a customer, but let's talk about the machines themselves a little bit more in detail. For one example, I know when you guys deal with hard metals, you have a 5-year warranty on your machine spindle because they are that robust. But I know there's a lot more that goes into the machine characteristics as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct, Tony. So, I mean, again, you mentioned we have a 5-year warranty on our spindle, and to be honest with you, we could, they'll kill me for saying this, but we could probably even offer a longer warranty than that. But we try to build our machines for, the 20 plus, 30 plus years of service in these fields, because of that high initial investment. It's not a commodity product that would be changed out after so many years. A large majority of our machines are rebuilt or retrofitted down the road with upgraded CNC controls and updated components as technology grows, and that's actually also something that we think about when we manufacture our equipment. Is, you hear this term in our industry a lot now, is future proof. That's something that our engineers, when they're designing a piece of equipment, that they're thinking about is the long term, this sustainability model for this piece of capital equipment that somebody's going to pay a lot of money for. It has to be built in such a way that it maintains this highest level of accuracy that we're known for the life cycle of the machine. It has to maintain the rigidity and the quality and the uptime and everything like that. So some of the things that we impart on our product as well are these life cycle services and uptime packages and things like that, which help our customers, further justify that high investment cost initially, because again, we understand that we're never going to be the lowest priced solution out there with regard to the piece of equipment itself. But going back to the lowest piece price, that we can offer to our customer, you also have to have that sustained over a period of time. It has to be something that the customer can count on day in and day out. And that's really what Starrag stands for. It's that quality, that accuracy and precision, the long-term quality and commitment to the customer. That's really what we focus on when we build our machines. Some of the technology that we have is the highest technology today, but we know it's not always going to be the highest technology, and we have to be able to adapt to that over time. So that's something that we're always looking at when we build or develop a new piece of equipment.
Jim, that's brilliant to me. From the outside looking in, my mind coming from a machine shop, but never having the great privilege to program such a fascinating machine. In most cases, especially when I was 20 and we had machines that were made from the 80s, it wasn't about adapting to the future, because More or less, it was a commodity machine, right? You buy it, you use it. When it breaks down, you throw it away, you buy another one, right? And
Right.
when we invest in a product like Starreg, we've already discussed that some of these can be quite costly, yet it's going to be there for you for the long term. So price per part is going to be very low, but the upfront cost is what it is, right? This is how. But you guys have been so forward thinking to go, well, we know that this is a machine that someone has invested in for decades to come. And in doing so, with the money that they've invested, we will be able to adapt to a software upgrade or a machine upgrade and almost take these pieces and parts and allow this machine to survive forever, which kind of makes sense based on you guys being around since the 1800s. So to me, this concept is absolutely brilliant. I'm so happy you shared that with our audience. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's, in some cases the customer is building an entire facility around our machine. And, we have several cases of that even right now going on. And you can't just take an entire, building and machine and foundation and everything and toss it away when something breaks.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Building around your machine. Yeah. So talking about this, that people are building around this machine at times, we have to talk a little bit about service and support, right? Because you are an amazing European-based company and you have a gorgeous facility just a few minutes away from the airport in Kentucky. So we have to talk a little bit about service and support, right? It's very obvious that you guys have implemented your strategy for decades and possibly even over a century. So let's talk a little bit about service and support for the guys out there who are going to invest in Starreg.
Yeah, so I mean, we have just under 20 service techs in the US that are all US citizens, going back to the nature of the business that we work in day to day, being defense related, primarily. We have to have a commitment here to the US market that we have, service technicians, application engineers, and support staff that's able to get in and work in these facilities. We also have our spare parts warehouse, which is just down the street from the showroom in Hebron, Kentucky, where we try to have critical spare parts identified for each machine that we actively have installed in the US, and we keep those spare parts nearby for quick delivery. But ultimately, we are part of a larger network. We are part of that European base, and we can bring in factory people for any type of service or repair that we may not, or we may need the factory reinforcement, so to speak. If that's needed, we can bring those people in at a moment's notice. Honestly, it's just a matter of getting the paperwork and the clearance in order and getting someone on a plane. But we do have a presence here in the US with regard to service and spare parts. We have an amazing team led by Steve Barkley, who I know you've talked with several times. That's one of the things, honestly, that I can say in contrast, to some of the companies in my past, is that Starreg really has a huge commitment to service because of the length of time that our machines are in service and installed in these customers. Again, like you said also, that the salesman sells the first machine, but it's service that sells every machine after that, and that really is true. And in the case of Starreg, if you look at the majority of our sales, it's based on repeat business. So I can't, I got to give them all the credit. It really is an amazing team that Steve leads, and service and spare parts in the US rivals that of some of the largest companies that you can mention.
Modig Machine Tool was founded in 1947 in Sweden with a focus on building best-in-class machines. The family-owned company develops, engineers, and produces premium machines for high-performance machining in leading industries including aerospace, automotive, energy, and construction equipment. The Modig machine series are all designed and built with high-quality rigidity, high dynamic stability, and precision technology modules. The common denominators that give Modig machines the flexibility, adaptability, and versatility known as the Modig differentiators. Learn more with www.modig.se. That is www.modig.se. Jim, I would like to concur with that statement just from my limited perspective, but I'd like to offer it regardless, which is by visiting your facility and by talking with yourself and a lot of the other guys, and yes, of course, Steve as well. And you are fairly new in the company, but I imagine your plan is to stay for a long time with Starrag. And when I walk around, the faces at Starrag have been there for a long time, and so you guys all understand the technology, the importance of service, the importance of support, as you've already said. But just to kind of reiterate that, when I talk with Greg, when I talk with Steve, when I talk with the folks that are there, they've been there a long time. You know, we got Hervé over from France, Switzerland area, right? We got you know, Elena's a nice German marketing lady, and you know, Udo has been doing this a long time as well, and bringing someone like yourself in. I mean, I admire who you are and what you've done, the expertise that you bring to the team, and I look forward to having this conversation 5 years from now and 10 years from now as well. And as this all grows, it's just overall, it's fun to watch from my side. And if you don't mind, Jim, I'm actually going to throw something at you that I didn't prepare you for. But I'm going to have a long-winded question, and I do this on purpose because I want it to be raw and authentic for the audience out there. And it's, I'm going to ask you for a small piece of advice to the industry, and you can focus that on, you know, kids coming in, or based on the, you know, I'm not going to give away your age, but you've been doing this for a little while now with great experience as a journeyman machinist, as a plant engineer, application engineer, you know, product sales, and your position at Starrag. I mean, you have the wisdom to offer to the industry. And so whenever possible, I like to grasp a small piece of that in an authentic way. So yeah, you can, to the kids that might want to get in, to someone who might be stagnant at the moment that needs inspiration in our industry, is, you know, some things do become redundant, or just, you know, someone who's looking for guidance to do more within the industry because they feel like, you know, they're excited to do more, and they're, you know, in their career trying to figure out which way to navigate. So now that I've become extremely long-winded and given you a little bit of enough time to think about it, I'm going to close out my question and just say, my friend Jim, what kind of advice would you like to offer?
So I'd like to, I think in two parts. Part of my advice would be to the you know, the companies out there that are looking to attract talent. I think my advice would be is to invest in your company and make it a place that people want to work, to make it a place that, you know, is welcome. It's funny because when I was in high school and you had all of these recruiters coming in for colleges and things like that, you know, everybody wants to go, and I always said, how do you attract people to this industry when you can go to college for 4 years or longer, and you can become a doctor or lawyer or Indian chief, and you can come into machining and you can serve 4 years on an apprenticeship program and, you know, work nights in a machine shop, or, you know, in a you know, dark and dirty factory. And it's not so desirable when you're trying to convince young teenagers, especially today, with everything that they can see online and the world that they're exposed to, even compared to what I was. But I think it's really a responsibility to the manufacturers and the companies out there to think about that, and think about, you know, the image that they're presenting and the workplace that they're providing for people. It has to be a place that people want to work. And I think when you introduce state-of-the-art technology, when you introduce you know, some of these again, machines like Starrag, and there's a lot of other companies out there that have, you know, world-class companies that make world-class machinery and state-of-the-art technology. That's the type of investment that pays back in ways that are not even measurable. It pays back in employee retention. Having somebody having the ability to work on a multi-million-dollar 5-axis piece of equipment in a really nice environment, you have an employee for life. I mean, that's one of the things to consider, is that it's not just the investment in the equipment, it's not just the investment in the process and the tooling, but it's also the days of throwing labor at a problem we know are long gone. That labor, every shop, every customer you go into today is saying that they can't find people, they can't attract talent. And so I think the responsibility goes back on these companies to think about that, to reflect on their investments and where those investments are made. And then I think the second part is to the younger generations that are coming up. The biggest shortage that I see in manufacturing is in skilled labor. It's not, there's more than enough technology out there. You can go on YouTube, you can follow MTDCNC and look at all the videos. There's no shortage of technology. The ability or the world is out there to be able to do some really cool things and to be a part of some really cool things. You think about all of the space exploration, and as I mentioned before, everybody's talking about rockets and things like that. In the defense industry, in AI and everything that's going on right now, that all goes back to manufacturing. All of those things have to be produced some way. Every plastic piece or every iPhone that you hold in your hand, everything like that comes from a mold, comes from a tool, comes from something that was made on a machine tool at one point, whether it was molded, whether it was directly machined out of a piece of metal. It doesn't matter. All of the medical technology and advancements that you see, it all goes back to manufacturing. And as my dad once told me, if you become a machinist or you get into manufacturing, you're always going to have a job. And I do believe that that's true. So I think, my advice is to the younger generation is that, don't look down on manufacturing, because that's where the next big boom. And I think even the current is that's where everything has to come from there. So
powerful stuff, brother. It's almost like you rehearsed that and knew I was going to ask that question.
No,
no, you didn't. I know you did it. I know you did, because that's the authenticity of it. Jim, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for sharing
Tony.
your personal story. Thank you for educating not just myself, but the global audience that listens to the Gun Show, presented by MTDCNC. Thank you for mentioning MTDCNC as well. If I didn't know any better, I think this was your 1000th podcast at the moment, Jim. You are an amazing person and very, very well spoken. Also, for everyone out there who's listening, thank you all for joining us. I hope you've learned a little bit more about my buddy Jim, about StarEgg, how StarEgg can help you, and that really powerful advice given at the end, which I truly appreciate personally as well. Again, Jim, thank you so much for being a part of the Gun Show.
Thank you,
very
Tony.
much appreciated.
Thank you for the opportunity.